And welcome into the Tuesday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Tuesday morning. Hope everybody's off to a great start to their day today. We got a lot to get to on the program today. We're going to talk Titans. We're going to talk college football. We're going to talk some hockey. We're going to talk other areas of football. We got a lot of things to talk about today on the program today. Alex Doherty from the Tennessean will be with us at 7:30. Gentry Estes from the Tennessean at 8 o'clock. I just realized, Joe, it's Tennessean Day here on the program.
It is. That's a lot of we need to get a little Mike. Can we get Mike Organ on the phone?
We can always get
Can we
Mike
get Tom
Organ
Krager? Tom Krager, new sports editor. Congrats to Tom Krager, by the way.
Way to go, Tom.
It's not like brand new news, but if we haven't said it before, sports editor of the Tennessean.
How we doing, Joe? What's going
on? Fine. I have a huge coffee here. I doubled up this morning just in case we had more sludge water coming through the pipes, which apparently, do we, or you just brought Nick, you just brought the purified water to be safe.
Water in the coffee machine looks good, looks normal.
Yeah, because I filled it up.
Okay. Yeah. So we don't know if the problem necessarily has been fixed. You just brought in another solution.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, in the grocery store last night, I think we would be a lot more sane if we had clean water for our coffee.
Okay.
So
look at Keyser going the extra mile.
Mm-hmm.
So made all those people mad on the text line yesterday. Now he's coming in here being just a champ today.
They don't get to drink any of the coffee.
That's true.
So.
They don't get to drink the coffee. They don't get to be in the league, even if they give you the right answer on the phone.
That's right.
They get nothing and they'll like it.
By the way, we will have another opportunity today for you to join the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. 4 more opportunities coming up this week. So make sure you're tuned in today for that. Very coveted spots on the line.
That reminds me, how's the text line doing?
The best I can tell, it looks fixed.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Okay, that's exciting. Good.
It could be a great day here on the program.
Could be drinkable water and readable text.
Just living the dream here on Robby and Rexrode. Joe, it's list day also today on the program too. Yeah. We got a lot of things that I saw yesterday where I was just like, that's interesting. Let's talk about that on the program. So we're going to do that today as well. Let's start with your friend Austin Mock, who has put something out there at theathletic.com. He does this every year, and we talked about this a little bit last year too. It's basically a projection model that they run at The Athletic, and it goes through each team in both conferences and kind of lays out a win total there, a projected win total for what we could see based on their model and how it's run. You'll be surprised to know that the Kansas City Chiefs are leading the way in the AFC with 11.3 projected wins. Joe, as you look at this, where did the Tennessee Titans come in? What do we make of their projected win total?
Well, the interesting thing here is, like you said, no surprise that the Chiefs would be. There's a few surprises in here. No surprise that the Chiefs would be where they are, at the top. 11-3 is not a super high pick, though. As the highest win total, which is interesting.
Not, as I mute myself for the first time today.
Well done. And you go down to, I'm a little surprised too that the low team is the Broncos at 6.0. The Titans, though, are I guess that would be second from lowest, or that would be third from lowest.
They are, I believe, third from lowest.
Yeah, they're second. There's 2 teams. Then there's the Broncos, and then they're the second team after that.
Maybe it is second from lowest.
I don't know.
They have the third lowest win total in the AFC.
Third lowest, yeah. It's Broncos, Patriots 6.0, Patriots 6.7, Titans 6.8. So, it's roughly in line with, I think, popular expectations. The interesting thing to me is the Titans, 6.8, just 2 spots ahead of them, the Colts 7.5. Just 2 spots ahead of them, the Jags 8.1. So, according to this model, first of all, those 3 teams are bunched. Now, I think that also kind of is in line with what a lot of people think. Maybe the most interesting thing, though, is that only 3 spots ahead of the Jags are the Texans at 9.0. I feel like the Texans at 9.0 might be the most surprising thing on this list. How many people? I've seen quite a few people say Chiefs, and then who's next?
Yeah.
Texans. Well, according to Austin Mock, and again, this is a projection model. This is like going through the. It says like 100,000 times game simulations, right? So it's computer based. he comes away with the Texans. So he's got the Chiefs. And then you've got Bengals, Ravens, Bills, Jets, Dolphins before the Texans. The Dolphins, a full half game projected ahead of the Texans, which to me is pretty significant.
Yeah.
If you look at these projections, they go by tenths here. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And look, I haven't really done the exercise just going through it, but that is one thing to remember with the first place schedule, that Texans have a first place schedule. You go from a last place schedule to a first place schedule. Some years that means more than in other years. Like we've talked about with the Titans, the NFC North is not great. It's not a great outcome for the AFC South this year. I think the AFC South, and Austin says this is one of the most fun. He says it might be the most fun division in the AFC this season. But look, I mean, the Bears are going to be interesting, and they can be dangerous. The Packers and Lions are both really freaking good. And then, the Vikings are drawing up the rear. But still, like that, along with the other elements of just having a first-place schedule for the Texans, tells you all these people picking them second. Have you looked at who they play?
Yeah. No, it's a great point. Like, there's no doubt the schedule this year for the Texans is much tougher than it was a year ago. Now, part of that is exactly what you talked about. The Titans and the Texans and everybody else in the AFC South drew the NFC South last year. And there is a difference between those teams and what they're about to see in the NFC North, particularly at the top of that division. So there's an automatic built-in difference there. But it is interesting looking at this. Like the Texans, what would that make them? 7th in the AFC? Yeah, 7th in the AFC when it comes to projected win total there.
Yeah, so this model has them only making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's a reflection of the schedule for everybody.
Yeah.
But also certainly for them. I mean, I'm looking at their schedule now. I mean, the thing is, it kind of works. You think about their schedule. I mean, at Indy is to start, they get the Bears at home. They go to the Vikings, Jags at home, Bills at Patriots. Like they have a chance to come out fast out of the gate.
They do.
Which would and build, build a cushion. But then it does get at Packers, at Jets. You got the Lions, at the Cowboys, at the Chiefs later coming up for you. A little Dolphins, little Ravens. I mean, it's
their last three of their last 4 weeks for the Texans. Home against Miami, at Kansas City, home against Baltimore, and then nice little closeout here in Nashville.
Coming right here to Nashville.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you get to October with their schedule again, starting with that trip to your beloved Packers on October 20th, and it is it's a neighborhood, man. So that's the thing, and that's. I mean, I don't go through everybody's schedule when I'm just saying, okay, I think this team is. Though we do have to do our playoff pick soon. So
we do.
Something to keep in mind.
Yes.
But it is, like this model tells you that, for example, in this model, the AFC East has got 3 teams in the postseason. And, and then you've got obviously your Chiefs and you've got your Bengals and the Bengals and Ravens are the next 2 right after the Chiefs. And I think that makes sense, in terms of the quality of the team, what we expect for them. But, the AFC East seems to have a real edge. Maybe schedule-wise. Again, I think the Dolphins at 9.5 and the Texans at 9-0 might be the most surprising thing to me. But again, how schedule-related is that? Got to be a lot schedule-related. That's all this is simulating the games.
It's got the Chargers right behind the Texans at 8.9.
Indeed.
Harbaugh Magic coming in the first year. Right on the edge of a playoff berth.
Yeah, well, he just cut Max Dugan. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that.
Thanks a lot for beating us in the playoff, Max.
Finally, payback for you.
Harbaugh's revenge.
Yeah.
I mean, how about the Brown? Like the
you
Browns,
knew our signs that we stole.
Yeah. You didn't let us steal all your signs and cheat you out of that game, so we lost. Got the Cleveland Browns down here, down the list, behind them, and that's an interesting one too. I mean, Cleveland. I mean, they could be anywhere on this list at the end. They could be real close to the top and close to the bottom.
Yeah. Well, I guess the one that I'm still having trouble wrapping my mind around when it comes to, like, clearly heading into this season, the expectations outwardly for the Titans are not going to be very high. And we know that. And we've talked about that. When these preseason predictions start to come out and you start to see people pick the division, you're going to see the Titans at the bottom of nearly every list. So I get all that. The one that continues to kind of boggle my mind a little bit, and then they announced their starting quarterback either yesterday or the day before. Like I just can't get there with the Raiders. Like the Raiders, people viewing them as a better team than the Titans. I can't do it with Gardner Minshew as the starting quarterback. And I realize Gardner Minshew was the starting quarterback of the Colts last year, but the Raiders just don't have a lot there. Like they've got Devontae Adams, who looks like he is trying like heck to get out of there. You got Max Crosby. That's about it. Like there's not a ton there.
Jared Springhill's about to go on a text
Brock,
rant on you now.
There's Brock Bowers. Does he do anything in camp? I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to be good.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. So wait, Minshew has been named?
Minshew's been named.
I actually thought Aiden O'Connell might beat him out. Gosh, that does not speak well of Aiden O'Connell or them or their situation. The Raiders are the team that's going to be picking the QB at the top of the draft next year, right? Like Carson Beck or somebody to the Raiders.
I would think.
But yeah.
Hey, one team to keep an eye on. Apparently, Bo Nix looks pretty good. I mean, he lit up the Packers in joint practices last week, which I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing for the Packers.
Is Bo Nix, I know he's a rookie, so it's different, but is Bo Nix this year's Kenny Pickett?
Maybe.
He might be.
He might be.
I mean, we'll see. I saw the point made. I think it was by, what's his name? Well, I know he makes some good points.
Jared?
No, it's his idol, one of his idols, along
Cowherd?
with Skip. Yes.
Okay.
Cowherd made the point that Nix, in college was get the ball out fast all the time, and that lends itself well to the system. It lends itself well in general to the NFL. I can kind of buy that. I mean, he's got a lot better.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say no chance. I just feel like
Sean Payton seems to really like him.
Yeah. This is going to be, this is really going to, if he turns out to be a good quarterback, then all the flowery stuff about Sean Payton can return.
Yeah.
So right now I got some questions.
615-737-1025. We're off and running today on Robby and Rexrode. Taking your thoughts on the Titans on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, broadcasting live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. The Austin mock projection out there at theathletic.com has the Titans at 6.8 wins, the third fewest in the AFC. Taking your thoughts on that. Michael from Madison says, I don't get the Broncos hype for Knicks at all. I think they're going to be the worst team in the league. The model agrees with you, at least in the AFC. I haven't looked to see who in the NFC to see who they think is going to be that.
Yeah, that might be coming out today, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, the model agrees, and trying to think if Austin says anything about them. No, not really. They don't even deserve a mention. Look, good for Knicks. He's looked good. And I mean, that's confidence building, and it's not like he's without talent. Again, he did get a lot better. I mean, I think the Oregon system fit him, but still, he made a lot of plays. If you watch Oregon play last year, it was very much like balls out fast,
Yep.
But so how much does that transfer right now? He and Sean Payton are on the same wavelength, so maybe it'll work out and it'll be the steal of the draft. I mean, hey, at this point, this buzzing in the background is killing me, man.
We were just spontaneously combusting here one day.
We're just going to be sucked into the earth at some point.
It's always something, man. It's always something.
Wait, call Chase. Call him.
The water's brown and there's a buzzing noise in here. What do we do?
The texts are working, though. So text us, folks, on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com, 615-737-1025. I'm warming up for Friday.
It's good. It's good. Yeah, I'm going to abandon you on Friday.
Yeah, I got to be microphone one.
You do, which is always a treat. I look forward to it.
I will be servicing the show, microphone one. Apparently, that's a Jared phrase from yesterday. That's what I'm reading on the text line from yesterday.
I will also say, I got a feeling the New England Patriots are going to be pretty bad. I think if I had to pick worst team in the AFC right now, it would not be the Broncos. It would be the New England Patriots. I think they've got a chance to be pretty bad. I don't know, I don't know that they're going to go 0-17 or anything, but I could see 4 wins. I could see 4 wins around the corner for New England.
Yeah. Well, then they're the team at the top of the draft that won't be picking a quarterback. So if they get to the top, they'll hold that ransom and, trade out of the one or whatever. But no, they have a real shot. I mean, they just traded Matthew Judon for a 3rd-round pick. One of their few players I even know on their team.
Yes.
So I'm with you. They're right there. And on the flip side of that, by the way, how about those Atlanta Falcons? I know we're talking AFC, but I mean, Justin Simmons, and look, players say whatever, and obviously he was waiting for a good deal, but he did say that he went to his agent and said, I want there right now as soon as they got Matthew Judon.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, feeling a little bit better about my guy Kirk Cousins and what they've done on that side of the ball. By the way, Cousins had his birthday yesterday. He had the whole playlist at the practice field with the Atlanta Falcons. So if you like emo music from the early 2000s, he's your guy. And
I bet Kirk Cousins is a big Creed fan.
I don't think there was any Creed. Thank goodness.
I bet he liked
He had some good Charlotte in there, and he had some Blink though. He had some Blink 182, sadly. Yeah. But
my guy.
Yeah. But no, man, I'm pretty excited about the Falcons. I'm pretty excited about what they could be. But yeah, that's at the expense of the Pats, who are going to be total cheeks, and they have basically admitted it. I mean, Jacoby Brissett, at some point, and he's a placeholder quarterback. He's okay, but at some point, I think Drake May will be probably starting for them.
Speaking of the Falcons, real quick, have you seen the Michael Penix stuff? Of they're just holding him out of preseason games.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that has to do with the injury, right?
I guess. I mean, but they're making it sound like he could play.
Yeah. He's done. He is practicing.
Yeah, he can play. They're just not playing it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean,
he's not going to play at all this year if Kirk Cousins stays healthy. So,
yeah, and they're not playing Cousins at all either.
Yeah,
so they're just playing total. I don't even remember who 3 and 4 are right now in camp with them, but they're just Raheem Morris is very much a Vrabel philosophy on the preseason games. You do not play your key players. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You'd think that as a rookie, he's not going to play. I guess it's in his mind, it's well, he's QB2. We must preserve him too. I don't know. Or maybe they don't want to. Is he going to be so amazing that then people are going to be clamoring for him?
Maybe so.
And maybe that's it.
Heard from McEwen says y'all's text line and the Titans' offensive line is in the same shape. Well, that's good news for the Titans' offensive line. Our text line is looking great today.
Yeah,
they're all flowing nicely today.
Exactly how it's supposed to go. Absolutely.
Austin from Clarksville. Do you think Weaver makes the team? Does he actually deserve to? This from Austin from Clarksville on the text line.
So that's an interesting. I saw Mike Herndon had a tweet like, "Who am I take after? I think probably after watching all 22. Who am I taking on the team? Caleb Murphy or Rashad Weaver?" And I think Herndon said he would take Caleb Murphy over Rashad Weaver. To answer your question, Austin, I do, but it's always look. Whenever you have a new staff and you have holdover players, that maybe they never would have picked. And frankly, he's been underwhelming in camp. He's a guy out there.
Which is what he's been his entire NFL career to this point.
Yeah, like early on, here and there, he'd flash a little bit. He's a really good player at Pittsburgh. But
he coached up by the Doozer.
That's right.
What happens.
That's right. Well, that's the thing, man. In the Doozer's defense, he's a 4-3 defensive end, and it's just pin your ears back, and it's a different. And obviously now it's another system change. I think my answer would be I think so, but I'm not betting a lot of money. I haven't seen a lot from Caleb Murphy either. I mean, Herndon seems to think he's performed better. I think, he may have like more pressures, but I have not seen a ton from him either. I mean, you're a little cheaper with Murphy right now, but I think both of them right now you could say are I guess fighting for that fourth spot if you want to look at it that way.
It's interesting. I mean, that's not what you want to hear from Rashad Weaver, right? Like you would have liked to have seen him make more of an impact at this point in camp. And it underscores again what we were talking yesterday. Just think about not having Arden Key for the first 6 games and what they'd be looking like over there right now if that wasn't the case. I mean, it could be as simple as, all right, well, if Key was out for 6 games, it's Jalen Harrell. Have fun over there, buddy. And that may be their best option.
Maybe. And hey, with Sweat, Simmons, Landry, maybe Jalen Harrell
works out well.
All of a sudden he's the freak. He's the freak part 25 years later. What about that?
Maybe so. I got a texter that says, I want the rookie kicker to make the team. We got a lot of votes for that yesterday.
Yeah.
A lot of people are all in the Narvison train now. I just don't think it's going to happen.
No, it's just I get it. The 59-yarder was beautiful. I mean, he had plenty of leg to spare on that one, but I don't think so. I think that what you want is, and I think it's really possible. It's going to be super interesting. What you want is, after they cut him, which they're going to do, for him to be able to be snuck onto the practice. I think the Titans would do that. I think that they would give him a spot in the practice squad and say, okay, then maybe next year he's ready to be the guy. But they're going to go with the guy who was 29 for 30 last year.
Mo asking if we believe in the Caleb Williams hype. We touched on this a little bit yesterday, but to answer the question, I mean, yeah, I think he's good. I think he is going to be a good player in the league. Is he going to be the next Patrick Mahomes? I think that's probably a little bit of a lofty bar that people are throwing out there, but yeah, I think he's going to be a very good player for them.
Here's I don't want people to take this comparison wrong, but one thing it reminds me a little bit of, because the criticism was the same. And actually, I mean, the hype is different, but there was a lot of hype. When Zach Wilson came out, okay, the thing was, okay, can he play on schedule? We know. I mean, look, I saw it with my own 2 eyes of Vrabel team lose to an awful Jets team because Zach Wilson made a couple plays where he ran around and he made an amazing throw on the run. And
Corey Davis
was one of the touchdown. I forget who had the other long play.
What a day that was.
Yeah. But Zach Wilson, that was the thing with him. It was like, maybe you get him off schedule running around. So, boy, but can he play on schedule in this league like you need to? That's the question on Caleb Williams. I'm not saying I mean, from what I've seen, it looks pretty good. But I think as a season goes on and as teams are game planning for him and he's seeing all these different things and pressures and coverages, I'm not handing him the MVP right now. I think he may have some rough Sundays this year. Ultimately, the talent is extreme. There's no doubt about it. And I don't care that he has a leather designer briefcase or bag or whatever, or painted his nails or loves his mom. But I don't know. I mean, is he going to be a consistently great quarterback in the league, man? I don't see how you can ever guess that with confidence of anyone until you really see it happen.
Jared from Spring Hill, can you make an argument for 2 kickers, one with a specialty of deep balls and then a precision kicker for 45 and in? Would you have to cut Malik? I by no means would do this as a GM, but since we're pinching pennies for points, it may be beneficial. That's from Jared from Spring Hill. I don't think you're going to see them keep 2 kickers.
No, you can't do it. I mean, you cut Malik, then you're keeping an extra tight end, or you're keeping an extra corner, or you're keeping an extra linebacker,
Which I think they could give serious consideration to doing that, cutting Malik and then keeping the spot somewhere else.
Possible. Yeah, but no, the 2 kicker thing is not happening. Just like I told you, Arden Key being unsuspended, not happening. So put this one in stone too.
That's right. 615-737-1025. Our phone number is 615-737-1025. We'll take more of your thoughts on the Titans. We'll also get into a little college football coming up next as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you on this Tuesday morning, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Alex Doherty from Tennessean will be with us at 7:30. We'll get into the Yaroslav Askarov trade requests with him. Where do the Predators go from here? Do they look to make a trade? Do they ignore it and say, hey, man, show up to camp? We'll see you then. Going to be interesting to see how that happens. We'll get into that with Alex more at 7:30. Taking your thoughts in the meantime, 615-737-1025, our phone number. Our friend of the show, Chris Vanini, Joe Rexrode, has come out with full rankings in the world of college football, 1 through 134. That's an exhaustive exercise that he's put together. And we are now just a few days away from college football. It begins this Saturday. College game day coming up live from Dublin, Ireland, which I believe Nick Saban's going to be there. At least I'm hoping he is. It's college game day.
Yeah.
So I assume he's going to be there. And I think that's got good potential. Saban over there in Ireland.
It has, that's great. I didn't realize that we were going to get the full game day thing too. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So, I mean, the usual suspects at the top of this list that Vanini has put together: Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, your top 5. You're probably going to see some version of that top 5, or at least close to that top 5 for most people heading into the season. And it's hard to argue with that. Tennessee coming in at 14 on this list for Chris Vanini. Guess who's at 13? Your beloved LSU Tigers, baby. Brian Kelly ahead of Tennessee everywhere heading into this season. AP poll, coaches poll, the Chris Vanini poll. A lot of love for the LSU Tigers.
Yeah, again, it's fine. Like, Tennessee at 14 is fine. And it's also interesting that he has Oklahoma right after them. That Tennessee-Oklahoma
That also
game.
seems to be a consistent thing.
It does. And it makes sense. I mean, really, with Tennessee and Oklahoma both, is Nico going to be amazing? Okay, well, then they're going to be better. But is Jackson Arnold is the Oklahoma version.
The same thing, yeah.
And he's all kinds of hype, too, and all kinds of talent. So I get that. Yeah, the LSU thing just kind of boggles my mind. And the thing is, and I don't think Vanini does this, but I know some people make predictions like this after looking at the schedule of a team. And honestly, I'm going to look at LSU's right now because I'm not familiar with theirs. Like, is that what some people are looking at, though? Some people do that. I don't think you should do that. I think you should just rank the quality of the team. Like, unless you're
they got an interesting from the jump, I believe.
Unless you're being tasked to predict a record. If you're being tasked to predict a record, that's different. Then then you go through the schedule. But we're just ranking the teams and what they are. Yeah, they got USC right from the start. Oh, they go to your favorite coach, the Beamer, the Beamster. Let's see what else.
Ole Miss.
Well, they got all these Big Ten, Big Ten games.
They
USC and UCLA. But yeah, Ole Miss at home, at A&M, Bama at home, at Florida. That's not a terrible schedule. You're getting Bama at home. Yes, you have to go to A&M, but you get Arkansas on the road. You get Florida on the road. You get a nice Vandy game in there.
You can talk yourself into LSU being
top
10?
I can talk myself into LSU ending up with a good record. But again, right now, that's not what we're talking about. Like, when you rank these teams, rank the quality of the team. So if you tell me right now LSU ends up with a better record than Tennessee, I could believe it based on the schedule. Although I still would not pick that because I just don't think they're going to be that good. I think they're going to lose at A&M and probably lose to Ole Miss. The Ole Miss thing is interesting. I thought saw Jess Pate talking about this. I think Ole Miss or LSU has them at home.
Yep.
After their idle or off week. Let's get that going again, folks, here in football season. And the game before that is South Alabama. So they have South Alabama a week off, and then they get Ole Miss in their place. And Ole Miss is is total murderer's row right into that game.
Yep.
And stuff like that matters, right? I'm still picking Ole Miss to win that game.
I mean, the A&M part of this is interesting too. Like, I have no clue what they're going to be. I mean, they're
Connor Wegman.
They got a lot of talent.
Another young QB.
Wegman,
how good is he?
Yeah, like how good is he? They've got a lot of talent left over from the Jimbo days out there.
Yeah.
So
talent in both the classroom and the field.
Yeah, a lot of talent to go around on that front. On this ranking, I asked you the question heading into it. I wonder where Vanderbilt ends up on this ranking. They come in at number 95. So just after Western Kentucky and Cincinnati, and just ahead of our beloved friend Butch Jones at Arkansas State at 96.
So
Vanderbilt coming at 95.
Well, Butch has been recruiting well. I will have
I'm sure
you
he
know.
has.
So how far? What's the separation from Vanderbilt to the next lowest SEC team? It would be an interesting question. I mean, I assume it's got to be Mississippi State, right? So yeah, it is Mississippi State, and Mississippi State is 59.
Jeez.
So he's got
That's a gap.
That is a gap. Mississippi State, and then I think there's another gap from Mississippi State. Well, you get up to Arkansas at 52. Most of the SEC is hovering around, the top 25-ish range. Kentucky 44. I did see Matt Jones make the case for Kentucky making the playoff this year. So
I'm sure he did.
I would like you to know, and Michelle, if you're listening out there, your Cats. Matt Jones has laid out the path, which includes winning at Tennessee.
By the way, MTSU at 118 on this list, ahead of Ball State and UConn.
Yeah, and Chris writes about them a little bit, and I agree. Mason, the program has a higher ceiling than where it has been. It may take some time, and I agree. I'm excited to see what D-Mace does over years there. He does have, you said this during the break, he's got a QB. When you've got a QB and you inherit a team with a QB, it gives you a chance. I mean, that league is led by a team that I think absolutely has to be considered one of the better, the group of 5 participant this year in the playoff, which is Liberty. In fact, so he has Liberty 30th, by the way, 30th in the nation, Liberty. So that's the team that's supposed to run away with it. If they go undefeated, it's an easy schedule compared to some other teams like South Florida has Bama and Miami. There's other teams that have better schedules, but if Liberty runs the table, that might be your team. I mean, that's a high ranking. I mean, Liberty is, we were sitting there talking when we were at Middle Tennessee. It's like basically, talking to Chris Massaro, AD at MTSU. It's like Liberty, it basically is SEC money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, they're probably going to keep hopping leagues. And by the way, another thing, Robbie, that we have to get used to, a thing we've been saying forever in college football that we have to say differently now. It's the Power 4.
It is.
It's no longer the Power 5. It's the Power 4.
Yep.
How weird.
I'll tell you another team to keep an eye on. And look, I don't think they're going to go undefeated because they do have to go to Florida State. Although I'm not going to rule out they could make that game interesting. Memphis could be pretty good. He's got Memphis.
They're a
like
contender.
30.
They're a contender.
Memphis, you look at their schedule, they play at Florida State on September the 14th. And other than that, I mean, they've got a pretty navigable schedule on this thing. I mean, they could end up 11-1. They really could.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So, and that's a great point. So he has Liberty 30th, Memphis 31. So Liberty, look at their schedule, like they have a good chance of going undefeated. But if Memphis is competitive against Florida State, like I would like to see that rewarded.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a tougher schedule rewarded there. And of course, it's Mike Norvell's old team coming into his house. DJ Uiagalelei is Florida State's quarterback, by the way.
Yes.
We should do a segment at some point here on can you guess where this player is this year?
Yes.
That's probably a worthwhile exercise at some point.
It is. And he's got Notre Dame at number 7. And we're falling into this again every year.
So that's another great example of what I'm talking about. I think Notre Dame's good. They're not great, but their schedule is definitely favorable. Now they start out at A&M. That's one of the really most intriguing games of week 1, I believe, is Notre Dame. But if they go and win that game, I know some people, my buddy Ari Wasserman thinks that they could have the best D in the country. I mean, I don't know. Sure.
We do this every year.
Yeah, I'm sure they're talented. I don't doubt that. But their schedule, it's embarrassing, honestly. Like Notre Dame used to play, like the beginning of the season, they always would play Michigan, Michigan State. They'd play like So who do they have? They do have USC, but look at their schedule. After they go to AM, Northern Illinois, Purdue, Miami, Ohio, Louisville, Stanford, Georgia Tech, Navy, Florida State at home, Virginia, Army, USC. My God,
That's
Newt Rockne turning over in his grave with that schedule. Come on. But that's part of why people are picking them like they're a lock to be in the playoff.
I mean, they probably are, but I'm just saying it feels like we've seen this movie before, time and time again with them.
We have.
It's not 1982. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll continue the discussion on some college football, including I saw something yesterday regarding Clark Lee that I don't know that I necessarily believe. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Hey, Robby Stanley here. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we got something a little bit different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. So maybe you're like me and you want to watch the Green Bay Packers. You can do it with this plan. Just visit FanDuel.com/Rob to download America's #1 sportsbook. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/Rob. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after free trial. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. JC in Goodlettsville on the text line saying, Vanderbilt would be better this year, but their schedule will keep you from knowing it. I like the way that's phrased. I think that's also a very distinct possibility that could happen.
It's a
tough schedule.
That's some wordplay right there.
It is.
I like that. Yeah. And then, that may well be the case with Vanderbilt. A little concerned about what their passing game is going to look like this year. I am very intrigued by some of the ads on defense.
I am as well. I'm also intrigued by, speaking of an ad on defense, Clark Lee being the defensive coordinator. What exactly is that going to look like with him as DC? We saw it at Notre Dame. What's it going to look like at Vanderbilt in the SEC against that schedule? Going to be very interesting to see that.
Yeah, he's good at it. We know he's good as DC, and I think that's a lot of times when a coach does this, it's either way, whether it's offense or like if it's a change, like I'm taking over the play calling on either thing, it's kind of like on the path toward not a great outcome.
Yeah.
But I think I think it's probably the right move for him.
Well,
and then we'll see if his OC and the whole thing he's done with the offense is going to give them sort of this uniqueness that I think they need to have a chance at all in the SEC.
Well, speaking of on the pathway to not a great outcome, I saw this yesterday. This is from Bet Online, and Barrett Sallee put it out there, who covers college football. Has covered it for a long time. And it's just the odds that were sent out of the first coach to be fired. I don't think anybody would be surprised by who's at the top of the list. Billy Napier is at number 1 on the list, 4-1 odds to be the first head coach fired. Sam Pittman at Arkansas, which a lot of people thought would be fired last year.
The SEC continues to lead the way in all categories in college football.
It just means more. 5-1 for Sam Pittman. Mario Cristobal, Miami, at 6-1 at number 3.
See, I don't buy that, but okay.
If he goes through another situation where they don't take a knee again, then he might get fired.
If he does another absolute Nathaniel Hackett brain fart at the end of the game, then yes.
Dave Aranda from Baylor is at number 4, which I could see that.
Yep.
At number 5 on the list in all of college football, the odds to be the first head coach fired, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt at 8-1. And Joe, I got to be honest with you. I saw that list yesterday, and I said to myself, yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that he's in danger of being the first head coach fired. Now, I will say this. I am not going to discount the possibility that if things go really bad again this year and they end up with 2 wins at the end of the year or 3 wins, and you look around and you just say, man, it's getting really hard to see where the progress is getting made. I am not going to discount the possibility. And I talked about this at the end of last year. I'm not going to discount the possibility that Vanderbilt may decide to move on at the end of the year. But the first head coach fired, I just don't buy that as a possibility for Clark Lee. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't know how much Bet Online AG follows like Vanderbilt in general, but that's definitely a very non-Vanderbilt thing would be to fire their coach in the middle of the season.
Do it.
Like, has that happened? I know someone's going to scream me on the text saying, yes, 1974, but boy, I mean, I say this, and I guess technically there was a game left when Derek Mason got fired, but that was frankly well past the time, right? I mean, so I'm talking about like the Napier thing is
Napier could get fired like 5 games in.
Exactly, and that's just not happening at Vanderbilt. Like, that's just not happening. There's no way he's not getting the whole 4th year, and I still think that he's going to get the 5th year. I think that at Vanderbilt, it's almost like unless you have egregious misconduct or something, you better give your head coach 5 years to do something that like is akin to, flying a prop plane to the moon. But I mean, he's higher on this list than, like the 12-1 is an interesting group. It's Justin Wilcox, California, Ryan Dave, Ohio State, and our guy Pat Narduzzi of Pittsburgh. I mean, I would.
It's disrespectful to the Doozer.
It is, but after 3-9 in the way in this climate, I mean, so much of it depends on your AD too. Your AD coach relationship is a big thing. I mean, Candace Lee hired Clark Lee. Like, he's not getting fired this year.
Dion made the list, 50-1. He's at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, there he is.
50-1 odds on the first head coach to be fired.
Well, I'm a little. I mean, Dabo 25-1.
Yeah, that's not happening.
It's hard for me to buy. I mean, again, maybe at the end of the year, it's like, okay, it's time for a mutual parting of the ways, but I can't buy that. Lincoln Riley 25-1.
Now that's going to be interesting.
That is interesting. It's still early there.
It is,
but it's
year 3 for him.
I think so.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's been disappointing, obviously. Last year, disappointing when you have a guy like that and your defense is so bad that it doesn't matter that you have the clear number 1 pick in the draft. But it's early.
The Vanderbilt, we're going to spend a lot of time looking at the schedule, and I talked about Clark Lee taking over the DC duties. One thing to me that helps your footing if you're Clark Lee and this staff this year, regardless of the way the record plays out, like, can you get somewhat of a handle on the quarterback position? Because to me, Joe, that's been the biggest failure of his tenure so far, is they have not even come close to figuring out quarterback. Like, it almost feels like, I'm not going to say they haven't had a plan, but it's just been all right, this guy's starting this week, and then 2 weeks, this guy's starting, and then we're going back to this guy 2 weeks later. Like, it's just been musical chairs at the quarterback position, and they have to find a way to get that solidified at some point this year. And look, I don't know if either one of these guys are going to be good enough. Like, they may just not have the guy in the building right now that's the solidifier of that position for this program. But you've got to, like, that's been a clear weak spot for them under Clark Lee is quarterback and having some stabilization there. And they've got to figure out a way to get that figured out this year. If not, like, if you can't get that figured out, it's really hard to do anything else in college football.
For sure. I mean, he inherited two guys that Derek Mason recruited, and Mike Wright had some moments, and Ken Seals was solid and came in, but AJ Swan was the guy who was, they were so excited about, who went to LSU. It's really interesting. He's at LSU, right? That hasn't changed. Yeah. That one's a head scratcher to me in terms of usually someone's going to leave to go play somewhere, but obviously I can't just put it all on him. I mean, you have to put it on coaching too when you perform that poorly, right? But obviously the QB, they got a Utah transfer and New Mexico State. I think Diego Pavia is going to be the guy. You're talking about 2,900 yards, 60% last year.
He makes good plays with his feet,
and an offense that should be creative. And he ran for 923 yards and 7 touchdowns last year. So I mean, that's what you expect to see is an offense heavily built around a QB who can run around and make plays and QB design runs and creativity. But can you throw it efficiently against these defenses enough? Because you still have to do that.
The Sam Pittman thing makes me laugh. Number one, I like Sam Pittman. I think he's a good coach, but it's probably not going to go well for him this year. Are they gonna hand the reins over to our friend Bobby Petrino?
Oh, my goodness,
as interim head coach if they fire Sam Pittman? As soon as they hired Bobby Petrino, I was like, what is this? And that wasn't a Pittman decision. Like they were like, yeah, you're going to hire Bobby Petrino.
Right. But also, why would it be an Arkansas decision?
I don't know.
Because the thing is, I think the way people view Bobby Petrino is he is still a very good offensive mind.
Yeah.
But you can't have him as your head coach. Not just take away his run on the show Chips, I mean, like, there's a lot of reasons that you don't want that guy as your head coach anymore, right?
Look, the only thing I can see is, you Google it. I just Googled Bobby Petrino, and the first image that comes up is him in that neck brace sitting up there at the podium.
That was a great Halloween costume for many, many people in the 2000s.
Oh, man. So who's your guess? Who is the first coach to be fired this year? Is it Pittman, Napier, somebody else? Who do you think?
Actually, I think I probably would go Pittman because I just don't think they're going to be good. And I think they'll probably hand it over to Bobby P. If they seriously consider going back to him full time, that's just shocking to me. That is living in the past, but like being completely blind to what actually happened in the past. You know what I mean? So I'm going to guess him because the thing about Napier is, and it could be so bad early, like the Miami game is huge for them. But I still feel like with his recruiting and everything, there's a case to not, to give him this year, basically. And they have the next possible superstar quarterback on campus. I just feel like Florida can't keep doing this, can they? They have to,
that's my
actually
answer.
Find out. Your answer is
I think
Napier?
he's going to get fired.
He's going to get canned? Yeah.
Their schedule is just brutal.
Yes.
Now, I think if you're them,
you know that.
You have to know that heading into the year that your schedule is rough. But they start off with Miami. They've got A&M on the 14th. UCF's no pushover. They got them.
They're not.
On the 5th.
They and then the Big 12.
Basically from mid-October on. I mean, listen to that. We've talked about this, but at Tennessee, home against Kentucky, home against Georgia, at Texas, home against LSU, home against Ole Miss, at Florida State. That's got to be that has to be the toughest 7-game stretch maybe in the history of college football. Unbelievable.
That's tough, man. Yeah, that's tough. They have the Miami game is the thing is if they lose the Miami game, then I'll I'll switch to your side and I'll go with that. I think if they start out okay and you understand what's coming, you still got to you got to beat Kentucky in that stretch, right? At home. You can't just completely go goose egg, but I think he's going to find a way to cobble it together and come back in 25.
Herb says, no way Clark Lee should be fired. He's in an absolutely impossible position. Needs at least one more year. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. 615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts to get to on our text line. We'll do that next. We'll also delve into the Predators, Yaroslav Askarov situation as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. Alex Doherty from the Tennessean will be with us at 7:30. We'll get into the Predators and the Yaroslav Askarov situation with him. Gentry Estes from the Tennessean at 8 o'clock. We're getting into Titans with him. And welcome him back to the United States after he spent what seemed like a month over in Paris.
Yes. Covering the Olympics, comes home and immediately, oh my God, joint practices with the Seahawks.
Have some.
Woo!
A lot of fun. A lot of fun.
I miss it. I miss it already.
Do you?
Yes.
Well,
these practices.
they could have done,
amazing.
They've done it before where they've done 2 joint practices with 2 teams.
Like a jamboree?
No, just like, they
Oh,
had
yeah. I was going to say, I
2
don't
different
remember that.
weeks.
That'd
Yeah.
be wild.
Yeah.
Have the third team over there.
at the same time. That'd be sick. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. No,
Not doing it
they
this
have.
year.
They've had a few preseasons with 2 joint practices in recent years, right?
Yeah.
Just one
Not
this
to
year.
be this year.
I
not to be.
mean, this week would be so much better
It would.
if, like, the Panthers were in here or something.
Weather's great this week. It's like 8.
Actually, it is. Yeah.
Feels
Should be
pretty
a
good.
good week for practice.
Speaking of football, it's time to give away another spot in the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League.
Let's do it.
4 more spots to give away this week. And today we have our text line operational.
Hold on. Before you say it,
Okay.
if you're driving right now, don't try to do this while you're driving.
Yes. That's an important disclaimer.
So he's about to ask this question. So pull into the shell or whatever, and then don't do this while driving.
Well, Joe, if you're giving this disclaimer, should we wait till the end of the segment?
No, well, at least give him. I'm just giving him like a few seconds. You know what I mean? Like get ready, get your text fingers
Yeah.
ready.
We
Just
tried
don't,
to tried to do the phone call yesterday.
didn't
And
work.
people got all over Keyser.
I know.
All over Keyser on the text line. Our text line is operational again today.
New phone. Who dis? Hang up.
Someone's already calling. We haven't it. We've not even asked yet.
It's true.
I can't hear you.
Excuse
Sorry,
me.
it's breaking up.
I'm hanging up right now. Today, text in. Hit up our text line. Make sure you don't call. 615-737-1025, our phone number. And today's question is this. We were just discussing the University of Florida. Florida won 2 national championships with Tim Tebow there as a quarterback. Now, he was the starter, won the Heisman, legendary college player, all those things. But his first year, they won the national championship, and he was not the starting quarterback. Now, he
Right.
got in and ran these
He
packages.
was the jump
and
pass guy.
The jump pass guy, and, he played a lot for a freshman who wasn't starting. But he was not the starting quarterback. Who was? Who was the starting quarterback for Florida in Tebow's freshman season where they won the national championship? The first person to correctly identify this answer will win a spot in the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League.
I will press the air horn when I have the answer.
Yeah,
Okay.
there better be. There's going to be it's a good question. SEC fans should know that like pretty well. Oh, I see a wrong answer. Oh,
I saw a wrong answer too, but I see.
and here
some
come all the
ones.
right answers. They come streaming or even leaking in.
Wow.
Dude, someone said Cam Newton. He was at Florida.
He was
for
at
a
Florida.
minute, so that is true. Okay, wow. Yeah, you guys can stop now. It's the right answer has come in long ago. Wow, the quickness of some of these people. Tell you what.
Geezer, you get to the bottom of our first answer down there and let us know when you have their information. We'll do that. Congratulations to those who have texted in. A lot of correct answers today.
Yes.
Sometimes we do this and there's a lot of wrong ones to start.
Wow. I got 3 straight Werfels up in here.
Werfel.
Man. I got
Now,
wrong
again,
decade.
they did win a national championship with Werfel.
Yes.
But
in
this
the
was not with
90s.
Tebow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, a good decade plus before this.
Yes. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll pass along the name of the winner when Keyser has identified this person. Joe Rexrode, the Yaroslav Askarov situation. The news broke while we were on the air yesterday, which does not happen very often given the hours of our show. But Kevin Weeks put it out there that Yaroslav Askarov has requested a trade from the Nashville Predators and that he does not plan on showing up to AHL Milwaukee. Now, one thing to point out in that, and I probably should have pointed this out yesterday, it did not say in that tweet that he wouldn't show up to camp. It just says that doesn't seem to have a whole lot of interest in going to AHL Milwaukee. So I'm interested to see what that means. Like, does he show up to camp and try to win the backup spot? And if he doesn't win it, he says, hey, yeah, I'm not going to Milwaukee. Or does he just not show up to camp? I don't know. We'll see what that all looks like. But as you can imagine, Joe, there's a ton of reaction to this yesterday on the Twitter sphere and on radio programs on our station and all those things. And it went about how I thought it would of Askarov is immature, and Askarov has not earned this opportunity yet to start requesting trades and all these things. And Askarov, this shows you exactly what the Predators are talking about with his maturity level and all those things. What's your read on some of the reaction that we've seen to Askarov requesting a trade from the Nashville Predators?
Well, I mean, I have.
By the way, Barry Trotz put out a statement.
Well, that's where I have to start, because I got to say, the statement to me, maybe I'm making too much of it, but the statement to me was a little bit of a slap in the face, maybe little bit. Quote, we are aware of the report today, and our expectation is for the player to report to training camp and compete for a job in September, end quote.
Yep.
The player. Not I tweeted that, and Chris Yao responded like, well, you can't say it. I'm like, no, this wasn't a spoken statement like he's struggling with his name. This is a written statement. Yeah. He didn't give this at a press conference or something. No, this is just a written. So choosing to write, you know what? We don't need to write Yaroslav. We don't need to write Askarov. How about just the player?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Well, Frosty?
Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but I'm like, man, that's a little bit of a, yeah, you'll get your butt to camp, unnamed player.
Yeah. Well, this is what I keep coming back to. I don't really know how this could take you by surprise if you're the Predators. Is it ideal? No, of course not. But like, you had to know, at least in my opinion, you had to know that this was a possibility the moment you decided to sign UC Saros to a contract. Now, would you like to see Askarov show up, try to compete for a job, put his head down, go to work? If he has to spend another year in the minors, then he spends another year in the minors and he works on refining his game and waits to see when he gets traded at some point along the way. Sure, you'd love to see that if you're the Predators. But is that reality? I don't know. I'm sure some guys would probably handle it that way. You are talking about a first-round pick. You're talking about, depending on who you ask, the top goaltending prospect in the NHL, and a guy who clearly feels like he's ready to play. And again, I said this yesterday. I don't know if he's right. He may not be ready. I don't know if he's ready for the NHL, but clearly he feels like he is. So the moment you decided, in my opinion, to sign UC Saros, I think in the back of your mind, if you're the Predators, you had to know that something like this from Askarov was at least a possibility heading into this season. At least that's the way I view it.
The way I view it is, he may not be ready to be a starter. I would say no, he's not. I think he's arguably ready to be a backup goalie in the NHL.
Well, and
I don't think that's a crazy,
I don't think it is either,
step for him right now. And if that were the plan, then they'd have this Willie plan, this partnership right now.
Well, I think you have to view it. Everybody's jumping all over Askarov right now, and I get it. Like, I understand that he's not done anything at the NHL level yet. So the idea of him requesting a trade, like, you just don't see, not that it doesn't happen, because it does, but you don't see guys requesting a trade a lot in the NHL. Now, having said that,
Tyson Barrie and now Yaroslav Askarov in this organization.
Ryan McDonough requested a trade, and it was granted.
But that was like not an angry request.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. It was just, hey,
I want to go home.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, there's different types of it. I get all that. But like, you have to view it from his perspective too. They have just told you as an organization that regardless of what they may say, regardless of how they may massage it, their actions have told you that you are not going to be their goalie.
Right.
They've signed UC Saros to an 8-year deal. The first 6 years of that contract have full trade protection. He's not going anywhere.
You are not the future.
You are not the future in goal. And on top of that, they went and signed Scott Wedgwood this offseason. And look, and I got in some arguments with people on Twitter about this yesterday. And look, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but maybe I am wrong. But the deal that they signed him to, they're paying him $1.5 million per year over the next 2 years. It's not a crazy amount of money, but it's enough money to where I doubt very seriously they're signing him to a one-way deal to them with the plan of sending him to Milwaukee after that. So, and trying to sneak him through waivers. So, like, if you're a Askarov viewing it, you're like, okay, so you've signed UC Saros to an 8-year deal, and now you've brought somebody else in to be your backup goalie. Yeah, I'm out. I think that's how you view it if you're him. So I think too many people are jumping to the how could this kid have the audacity to request a trade when he's that young and not done anything in the league and not spending, in my opinion, enough time looking at it from his perspective. I totally get why he's doing this.
Yeah. Well, Gentry Esses, who we're going to have on later too on Tennessean Day here on the program, he had a good point in his column about this. Askarov, the past 2 seasons, has played 92 games at Milwaukee. Do you know how many Saros ever played in Milwaukee?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I bet it's not 92. I bet it's like 70.
62.
Okay.
So about the same age, 4th-round pick. He's here, and he's backing up Pecorino again. As we've said, that there's a lot of differences between those two situations, but you are talking about the number 11 pick, and the 5-year anniversary of that draft is coming up after this season, and so I can get how you could look. A lot of players get antsy, and you saw it with Fiala, for example,
Yep.
right? I mean, that happens. And I totally hear what Trotz is saying about overcooking, but yeah, you being surprised that Askarov is approaching it like this, I can't get there. I don't see how it's shocking. And look, I think that it's a small sample size, and I obviously some of the extra stuff with him may be a factor here, right? I mean, do they? Because you tell me if you were in charge of this team and you're just like, okay, here's everything else is in place, but you have a choice. You can either have this kid as your backup goalie, or you can have Wedgwood as your backup goalie next year. Which way do you think will end up better for you?
We'll answer that coming up next.
Okay.
615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll also get our fantasy football winner coming up next as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Good song.
Yeah, little theme here in the pipes.
You know what? I'm going to be totally honest with you. I didn't even register.
You didn't even think about that?
And then now that you bring it up, I'm like, okay, let's see what we're doing here.
I've been trying to think of some other ones, but I'm coming up empty. If anybody has some other good songs that might involve dirty water at all, let me know.
What about Dirty Laundry? Does that count?
Ooh, little Don Henley.
Yeah. Or we could play the best version of that song, which is the Nickelback remake of it. It's pretty elite.
Nickelback remade Don Henley Dirty Laundry?
Yeah, and it's actually not bad.
That is really disturbing to me.
Like to the point where I think you might even like it is probably a stretch, but you might say, all right, well, that's not horrible.
I'm car accident intrigued by this.
Yeah, we'll see if we can't figure that out. 615-737-1025. Nick Huser, do we have a fantasy football winner?
Yes, we do. It is, and our answer is Chris Leak. We already talked about that. But Jason Hull is our winner. So, Jason, welcome to the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League.
Congratulations, Jason.
Welcome, Jason.
We look forward to competing with you. Chris Leak, the quarterback in Tebow's freshman season.
A solid senior.
Yes.
That Chris Leak. Team that is the team that just housed Ohio State, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer coaching them up.
Yep. I really thought Ohio State was winning that one.
Isn't that the one where like Ted Ginn brought the opening kickback or whatever it was?
The opening kickoff, you're like, oh, the route is on. And boy, was it not.
It was not. Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Ryan in Nashville. Ryan, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Morning, guys. This whole situation, Trotz's history, we all know Trotz's history with Russian players, and it's just showing more. He got rid of Trennan mid-season, which was understandable. He told Igor last season to prove himself in Milwaukee. He did. And now he's doing this whole situation with a scarf where he wanted his cake and eat it too and overcook him in Milwaukee. But, take away the playoffs last year, and the scarf had a career season. He went 13 games straight.
So take away the playoffs, the most important time of the year. He was amazing.
Yeah.
He went 13 games straight with giving up less than a goal a game. With 5 of those wins were shutouts. And then you take back the playoffs. Yeah, he struggled against Dallas, but then he came into the second round and took care of the Griffins till he got hurt.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Ryan.
Well, look. So wait a minute. Just hold on. He's saying that Trotz hates Russians? Is Trotz John Cherry?
Well, that's the part of this I want to address first, because it's not the first time we've heard that. So I understand there was a disagreement between him and Alexander Radulov. The relationship did not go well. Clearly.
Didn't Radulov sneak out and go to the bar?
Well, Radulov left first. So he left, went to the KHL, and came back. And then, yes, he snuck out and went to the Scottsdale bar with
like the Holiday Inn hotel bar. Like what bar did he go to?
I don't know. Somewhere where they weren't staying well after curfew. Yes, it did not work out between Barry Trotz and Alex Radulov. There's no question about that. He did trade away Yakov Trenin. There is the Askarov situation going on now. Now, he also won a Stanley Cup with Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah,
and he just drafted a Russian kid in the first round.
Ryan, so you're saying that Afanasyev actually is amazing. It's just Trotz's anti-Russian bias. Come on.
I've told you guys this before, and people got really mad at me when I said this last year. Igor Afanasyev is not an NHL player. He's not an NHL player. He's not a good enough skater. He's had a nice year in Milwaukee. He's not an NHL player. And guess where he is right now? The KHL. He got traded and is left North American hockey and is in the KHL.
Maybe everyone
he's not good enough.
Russians? Yeah, come on. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So now look, what Ryan's point on Askarov as a player and all that stuff, I chimed in there, but look, he's really talented. This is going to turn into the long-term comparison of Saros and Askarov, and it really does come down to this team. Because like you said, Robby, during the break, it's like when it comes down to it, like it doesn't affect the immediate future of like what the Predators are trying to do and what they have loaded up to do. Right?
At the end of the day, and this is a very simplistic way to view it, but nobody's really going to care. Like, really, this is now about, from what they've done this offseason, the only thing that this is about with the entire franchise right now is do you win a championship in the next 4 years with Stamkos, Marchessault, Shea, and the decision you made to go all in? Does it result in a championship for you? Because if it does, none of this other stuff matters. None of it. The Skarovs thing doesn't matter. It just, I mean, that's what it's about. That's the position this offseason has now put them in, which is, are you going to win in the next few years here,
right,
with your roster?
Exactly. And with Askarov, I think we've, first of all, let's remember that pretty clear that they tried to move him previously.
Yes,
that was the draft of 23, right?
Yes.
So look, the Preds are not going to end up getting the bundle for one of these goalies that we have talked about a lot. It's not going to happen. I mean, you're going to get something for Askarov. When, I don't know. I got the popcorn out to see if okay, he's showing up for camp, all that stuff. Like,
sure.
how is that gonna play out? But no, I understand Askarov's position. And by the way, you didn't answer the question yet.
Wedgwood or Askarov, I think it's close. Like, Wedgwood statistically had a down year last year. Now, he has been in his career a pretty good backup. Like, he's been a pretty good backup by the numbers. So I think it's close. And if you want to make the argument that you wanted Askarov to remain engaged and to come in and to really feel like he had a good shot at being the backup goalie this year, then maybe you made a mistake in signing Wedgwood. I can listen to that. Like, I can listen to that. I also think, like, from a management standpoint, what that move signaled to me was you're kind of covering yourself a little bit. Like, if Askarov comes in and he's clearly not ready to be the backup, you've got a guy there. But you did sign him to a one-way deal.
But is that what it is? Because I don't know. I feel like it's just Trott's thinking
my real
he
answer
needs to be overcooked, and I want him back in Milwaukee.
I think the real answer could be that this offseason and the way things did end with the playoffs and all that, felt pretty strongly that he was not going to be ready to be the backup goalie.
Yeah.
And he clearly disagrees.
Think about next year, just from a fan standpoint, if you had everything that's already going on and you had him for 25 games,
right?
Like every night would be more fun. Is there also, there's the readiness. Is there also a concern about like a distraction or something with
maybe
him because of
do you believe, let me ask you this, because I don't, based on the information that's available to me right now, I don't believe that Askarov is going to win the backup job. Do you think that even with Wedgwood and the contract he's on, that Askarov has a legitimate shot to win? Because Trotz has said he does, and he said that if he comes in and he's clearly the second best goalie, then that's what he'll be. He'll be the backup goalie.
I mean, if he comes in and he's insanely good and like stands on his head for camp, how do you not give it to him?
Well, you don't ridiculous. I mean, here's how you don't give it to him, is because he's going to be playing once every 2 weeks. That's how you don't give it to him.
Yeah. But you still give it to him.
I don't know.
Make it more fun.
I think the
get all this stuff together.
I think the percentage chance of Scott Wedgwood being the backup goalie for the Predators, even before all this stuff, was like 98%. I think it's pretty high.
Have you pushed it up to 99 now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to see Askarov show up and say, okay, let's go.
I would too.
Check this out.
Let's see if he does it. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll have Alex Doherty with us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on all this. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, the game. Hey, Robbie Stanley here. Make sure you kick off football season at Twin Peaks' Ultimate Draft Party headquarters. When you're not on the clock, league members can sit back and relax with one of Twin Peaks' refreshing 29-degree beers, or you can order for the whole team with the Peak Sampler, full of fan favorites, indulging in shareables like the double-stack nachos, loaded fries, and multiple flavors of boneless wings. Visit twinpeaks.com/fantasy draft for more information. Once again, that's twinpeaks.com/fantasy draft. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. We go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in our friend Alex Doherty from the Tennessean. Alex, good morning. How are you?
I am great. I'm just here to talk about who is or isn't going to report to the Milwaukee Admirals this year.
Yes.
The player. Will the player be there?
Oh, boy.
We wonder.
Do we need to talk about other Milwaukee Admirals this morning? Because I'm ready.
I think we might.
It's about
I think
time.
we might. Well, I mean,
It's about
Rexrode's
time.
been burning to do this all offseason.
We've been
so
ignoring them way too much.
we really have. They have to get to the bottom of it this morning.
Well, you had a caller on that just broke down the playoffs, everything that happened in the playoffs. So
That
we
is
haven't even
true.
done that yet.
That is true. So, Alex, what do you make of all this? Like, obviously, the Predators, at least in my opinion, I mean, they made a choice this offseason with their goaltending situation. They signed Saros to the 8-year deal, and now you have this as a response from Yaroslav Askarov. Where do you think things go from here, and what do you make of Askarov pulling this move as early as he's done it before the season even begins?
Well, the first thing I'll say is let's think about, I mean, what has really changed over the last 24 hours? I mean, the only thing that's really changed is that we have formal confirmation that Askarov is unhappy. But as you pointed out, I mean, we already probably knew that, right? I mean, This is not, we knew Askarov was not happy with the situation. There was the cryptic, Instagram story that he posted whenever they signed Saros, and then obviously the Wedgwood signing was the backbreaker, right? I mean, like, there's no way he didn't see I mean, if he was miffed already about the Saros thing, the Wedgwood thing is just like a slap in the face, because then it's like, well, clearly I'm not even going to be in Nashville next year. So nothing's really changed. I mean, other than we just know for sure that he's upset. And I also think that Trotz is not really in that different of a position. I mean, I think he was already going to try to trade the guy. That was in the works for a while. I just think that it reflects a little bit more about maybe there's a strained relationship between the two. I mean, or not much of a relationship at all. And I keep coming back to the quote that Trotz said, where at the draft, right before the draft, he said, "You're ready when you're ready. You're not ready when your agent is ready." I mean, when he said that to me, I was like, it was pretty clear he was talking directly about the Askarov's agent. And I think there could be something there. There could be some sort of strained relationship there, or at least something where the two parties realized long ago this was not going to work out the way that they wanted it to. So that's all I can think of is we just things are not that different, other than the fact that we know for sure Askarov's not happy.
Yeah, that quote's almost as good as the you don't come to Nashville to retire. He's good for one of those every year, right?
Trotz's firing away.
Drop the mic quote from Trotz. Okay, so how do you think? Where does it go from here, Alex? How does this play out? Right now, let's say you have to bet on how this is going to turn out. What do you think is going to happen here?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a trade before the season starts is more likely. I don't think Trotz wants to go. I don't think he wants to deal with training camp holdout or missing in action goaltending where he doesn't know where this guy, like he's not showing up or whatever. I don't think he wants to deal with that. I also think that there's probably going to be more general managers involved here and want a piece of the action and see what the price is. And so that in turn increases the possibility. Like last year when Tyson Barrie requested the trade, it was a totally different situation. I mean, it was a player that basically no one wanted now, and which is only more true now that we know he's not even signed anywhere. Yeah. But I think it's more likely that he gets traded before the season starts. I don't know that it happens before training camp. I think there's a possibility that he does report to training camp and just doesn't get through the whole thing. Maybe he gets traded at some point there, but the likelihood that I think he gets traded before the season open, I think is pretty high. That's what I would put it at right now.
So let me ask you this, but I agree with that, but let me ask you this. So, Kevin Weeks put out the report yesterday about him not wanting to report to the AHL. Now, it did not say that he won't report to camp. So, right. Like, do do you think there's a legitimate possibility? Let's say Trotz approaches this like, look, man, if we get the right deal, I'll trade you, but I'm not trading you just for the sake of trading you, and that could take a while. So do you think that there's a legitimate chance that he's got, if he plays well in camp, to actually make the team and to be the backup goalie? Or is this from the moment they signed Scott Wedgwood, been Scott Wedgwood's backup job, regardless of kind of the way that they've window dressed it?
Okay, so I think there's actually a pretty good chance that Trotz is willing to give him a chance to become the backup. And the reason is because he keeps talking about this. You've heard Trotz give the same story about when Pecorine was 25 or whatever it was, or 24 in 2008 and wanted to be in Nashville. And he was so mad that he had to go back down to Milwaukee, but it was like the best thing that happened to his career. He keeps mentioning that. I think that's the same narrative he's giving to the Askarov camp is like, look, I've been to this before. I recognize that you think he's ready, but he's not. And here's why it will be better for his career. And then when that didn't go well with them, he was like, you know what? I'm just going to sign this other goalie I know is good. So yeah, I think that the whole thing from the beginning, and I was talking to Gentry, who I think is coming on a little bit on here on Tennessean Day on 102.5.
Yeah. We should have just had a big staff Zoom call. Yeah.
We were debating, is this about Askarov wanting to not wanting to go to Milwaukee, or is it about wanting to be the starter in Nashville? And I think it's just more about he doesn't want to go to Milwaukee. I think he would be fine being, getting 20, 25 starts in Nashville next year. I think and if you didn't feel that way, I think that would be a total red flag, because any goaltender that has 3 starts and wants to immediately be the 60 start guy is maybe a little clueless about the situation. So I think it's just, I think that there's probably a likelihood that he gets traded now. And I don't think there's any way that Askarov and the Predators are going to be able to work in the future now. I mean, it just doesn't seem like he's going to be traded, and it's kind of stinks, right? Because we all know the guy he's such an entertaining person, and it would be really really nice to see a player like that in Nashville and kind of take the league by storm, but it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we really haven't. That's an underreported part of this. Like, why shed a tear for the media, folks? Shed a tear for us, because this guy's going to be awfully entertaining somewhere. So okay, so that's the thing, because I do think Trotz, in his mind, you could start 25 games here, but I'd rather have you play 65 games there, right? That's the idea. That's the overcooking plan in Trotz's mind. That now, I don't know. Like, are you surprised, Alex, that I understand this is not a typical thing that someone comes out publicly like this, but that Askarov is upset? I mean, it's not surprising, right?
No. It's not surprising. Because players do this every year. There's players that make this move. I think that it's weird that it's a goaltender mostly, because usually you see this with forwards who think they're going to come in and light the league on fire, or defensemen. But position players, you see a lot more. I think it's a reflection of, we talk a lot about, professional athletes are people first, and they have personalities. They're human beings. They're not just robots out there. And you just never know. I mean, like when they drafted the guy, he was in a situation in Russia where, as soon as he's drafted and as soon as he wants to come over to the NHL, they're like, well, you're not playing anymore. And the vibe when he came over was like, thank God I'm in the National Hockey League now. I can make it. And that changed in like a year and a half, in less than 2 years. Well, but that's because he went from a 19-year-old to a 21-year-old. Like he's a young guy, and he's dealing with, I'm sure he's got friends telling him one thing. He's got agents telling him another. He's got friend groups. He's got family members. He's got people in the know, people in the hockey world who are just saying, no, you need to be a starter right now. I mean, it has got to be very hard. I know he's 22 now. It's got to be very hard as a 22-year-old to hear all that and then go to your boss in Barry Trotz, and he's like, no, you're not ready yet. So I think it's like anything else. You think some people just are unable at an early age to kind of have all the have the entire picture and to be able to look at the whole thing and think, you know what, I think my boss does have the best thing in mind for me. So it's, this is not the first time this happened. It's not going to be the last either.
Well, Alex, appreciate you taking time to be with us today. Going to be very fascinating to see how this plays out. And happy Tennessean Day to you on the program today. Thanks for being with us.
That's right. Yeah. I think the only thing I want to say is I think the Nashville Predators fans need to be prepared that what if this guy goes to Chicago, right? What if this guy goes
Robbie's
to
already thrown. Oh, Robbie's all in on that.
Well, and then the other part that I thought about that was, what if he goes to Chicago and then they put him down in the AHL? That'd be funny, right?
It would. We'll see what happens.
See
Alex,
ends up right back there. All right, appreciate it, guys.
Alex Doherty from the Tennessee and our guest on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your thoughts, 615-737-1025. The Rob Rant coming up next. Gentry Estes at 8 o'clock talking all things Titans. All that ahead, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Hey, folks, you've heard us talk a lot on here about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we got something a little different for you. From now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. I can tell you, I'm a YouTube TV subscriber. I'm also a huge NFL Sunday Ticket subscriber for many years, and both of them are outstanding. With the YouTube TV base plan, you're going to be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon on a market game. All you need is a Google account, a current form of payment, and you can cancel this at any time. All you got to do, visit FanDuel.com/Joe102 and download America's #1 sportsbook. Check out YouTube TV and NFL Sunday Ticket. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after the free trial. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
What teams are scared to death of is committing money to a quarterback and then getting a year into the deal and saying, oh, God, we've made a tremendous mistake. This idea that, well, they haven't done it, so they can't do it. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Yeah.
Robby Rexrode, man. Let's go get it. Let's get some, baby.
Yes, sir. It is that time of the day. Time for the Rob Rant here on Robby and Rexrode. You can check it out every morning. Either the Rob Rant or the Rex Rant. Have not had a nicked off in a while. Maybe one of those coming up.
Yes. But the D-Mace drop, good work, Nick.
Very well done.
More of that. That should almost be like the start of our show now.
Should be.
You know?
Maybe we'll weave that in there.
Maybe.
All right, so I was perusing the internet yesterday, and I came across an interesting conversation between Tua Tagovailoa and Dan Le Batard down there in Miami. Now, Le Batard has been in Miami for a long time. He's very connected down there, not only with the Dolphins, but pretty much everything Miami down there, and has gone away from ESPN's kind of doing his own thing now. So they talked with Tua about a lot of different things, but the quote that's getting a lot of traction right now came when Tua was discussing Brian Flores and the difference between how he was coached under Brian Flores and now he's coached now under Mike McDaniel. Here's what Tua had to say yesterday with Dan Le Batard.
Well, to put it in simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you you suck at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate, you are the best whatever, you are this, you are that. Like, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You see what I'm saying? And then you hear it, regardless of what it is, the good or the bad, and you hear it more and more, you start to actually believe that. I don't care who you are. You could be the president of the United States. You have a terrible person that's telling you things that you don't want to hear, or that you probably shouldn't be hearing. You're going to start to believe that about yourself. And so that's sort of like what ended up happening. And it was, I mean, it's basically been 2 years of training that out of not just me, but a couple of the guys as well that have been here since my rookie year all the way till now.
So that was Tua with Dan Le Batard. Some strong words there. I mean, I don't know if it was totally intentional, but he did refer to Brian Flores as a terrible person.
Yes, he did.
In that quote there, and talked about kind of just the difference in how he's been coached. And I have mixed feelings on this, Joe, because my first thought when I heard that was, geez, like Brian Flores kind of sounded like he was just all over Tua all the time. And you think back to Flores was the coach in Miami from 19 to 21. And Tua was there 2020, 2021. And I remember we were talking about him back then just in terms of they took him out of games and put Fitzpatrick in there, and he got benched a couple of times. Now he had some health problems in there too, but it was never fluid under Brian Flores. And then there's the whole Flores, Stephen Ross thing, and just it was a disaster down there in Miami.
What a time.
Yeah. So clearly the results in terms of his stats, anything you want to look at it, are way better under Mike McDaniel coming in there. So clearly McDaniel has been able to connect with Tua in a way that Flores did not. My other thought was that, okay, this is Tua's side of the story. Is it was Flores really that much of a jerk, or was it just one of these old school coaches being an old school coach, and Tua just didn't respond to it pretty well? I don't know really what to make of all that, because Tua played for an old school coach in college under Nick Saban, and we know how he can be, and he seemed to handle that pretty well in college. Now, he did win Saban a national championship as a freshman, throwing an absolute dart down the left sideline. So that changes things a little bit pretty quickly into your college career. What do you make of those comments from Tua just taking some shots at Brian Flores with Dan Le Batard yesterday?
Well, we had Charles. Well, I know Charles also wrote around this and was real close, but I think we talked about it too back then with him about Flores just not liking Tua. I mean, Flores likes Tua about as much as Jared does.
Yeah.
So I just, it's interesting. I feel like this speaks a little bit to, like you said, old school, new school. And look, you could take it here a little bit, right? Vrabel, definitely more of an old school approach, although still new age in some ways for sure, in very important ways, but definitely more of a, like the coach from the negative approach was way more prevalent. I've talked to my kids about, it's like, if a coach says this or this or this is wrong, but doesn't say the things that are right. Well, that's in my mind. I've told my kids, like, well, that's kind of coaching, isn't it? But yeah, of course, there's also like if Flores is doing it in a way that's personal and stuff like that, then
here's what I don't really get from the Flores point of view. Let's say all that's true, and he just didn't like Tua, and that he was a jerk to Tua, and all this other stuff. Don't you kind of have to even if you didn't want to draft him? Well, they did. They drafted him. So don't you kind of have to know that that's the franchise quarterback, regardless of if you wanted him or not? And your job, in a lot of ways, is going to be tied to how well or not well he does. So, like, I think you kind of have to know that as a coach. And if you don't, I don't know if you're really living in reality when it comes to the NFL and the coaching part of this and how closely your job is tied to the success and or failure of your quarterback.
Yeah. Well, and I think this also kind of speaks to why the hot hire in the NFL is the specific QB coach whose job it is to connect with the QB, develop the QB, even though you have a QB coach and OC, but still the QB lineage coach right now is valued above. So I don't know if does it go more and more like that? Like if a Callahan works out here, if they keep working out, at some point, do you see less and less of the defensive guys getting head coaching jobs? Like Ben Johnson in Detroit is the next guy who, of course, the Washington football team says very, very mean things about him.
There's a couple guys,
Bobby Slowick. I mean, is that where we're heading? And Flores, a defensive guy, Vrabel, defensive guy. Now you have, what if things don't work out with Caleb? Eberflus they better work out pretty quickly, or they're, Caleb Williams is going to have a coaching change on his hands and have a defensive guy out of there. Again, not that all the defensive guys have the same approach. Flores is, from everything that I've been able to see about him, he's a very intense guy.
Yeah.
And so it's a personality clash. But yeah, it's like if it's always the negative, I think players today, as we've talked about many times, they don't take that as well. And they want to be, we've been talking about the Preds, Andrew Burnett, it's like getting asked, why are we doing this? If I would have asked why when I was a player, I'd be like, shut the hell up. Go do it.
Exactly.
Now, okay, let me tell you why. Sit down, Johnny. Let's talk about why. And so Flores seems a little more old school, and Tua, not.
Tua doesn't really ever say anything all that much.
I know.
He was fired up about Brian Flores, apparently.
Terrible person.
Good gracious. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll be joined by Gentry Estes from the Tennessean coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on all things Titans. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. And we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in our friend Gentry Estes from the Tennessean, who has spent seemingly the last month in Paris, covering anything you could possibly think of over there in the Olympics. Gentry, welcome back. Have you gotten reaccustomed to the Central Time Zone? How we doing?
Yeah, it's been a work in progress here in the last week. It's been getting better each day, but it's about 3 weeks over there. It's tough work, but someone had to do it.
Tough work. Did you have any
breakdancing
desserts of it?
Yeah.
Did you cover breakdancing?
No. You know what? I've been asked that probably more than any question. Clark Lee asked me that question.
Really?
Did you cover the breaking? And I remember we had the team we had, 2 or 3 people did cover that. That was, I remember thinking at the time, I was like, gosh, is there that much interest? There's absolutely that much interest for a sport that I don't think you're going to see again in the Olympics.
I would have loved to have seen your breakdown of that.
That freaking Australian breakdancer ruined it for everyone.
They did. They did. Oh, man. So Gentry on the Titans front, obviously still a couple of weeks here before week 1 against Chicago. It's been a work in progress for the offense, specifically Levis and Ridley, to develop that connection. But based on the joint practices last week, based on what we've seen and heard from Brian Callahan about all that and that process, where do you think this offense is right now, and kind of how do you view the progress they camped to this point as we approach week 1 against Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, I do think in terms of you're installing a brand new offense, so things aren't going to be seamless at this point. And you do see the execution issues that I think most teams would have at this point. But I like what they're doing offensively. I think they've certainly upgraded at the skill positions in terms of being able to be a lot more versatile in what they're doing. And you see that certainly in what they're trying to do. I think you're going to see an offense that throws the ball a lot more short passing to kind of to get it going that way. And I think, it's, in terms of running backs, receivers, that they have the players that should be able to do that. I mean, there's always the question about Levis coming into his sophomore season here. And, is he going to be able to build off what he did last year? And I do think that's probably going to be the storyline of this offense for sure as the season develops. But, the first thing that stood out to me, and like I say, I missed the first few weeks, but to get back out there with them, they just look a lot faster as a team to me. And that's on both sides of the ball. And it's not, always necessarily a good thing in certain areas, especially on defense in the front 7 necessarily. But I think offensively it will help them. They have a lot more speed on the perimeter.
What are your impressions of the rookie? Well, actually, how about both rookies, Latham and Sweat? To me, first of all, huge additions in terms of just overall, poundage to the football team, but also I think both guys are going to be key this year. What do you think as you watch those guys play?
Yeah, I mean, Latham ever since he got here has shown zero signs that he doesn't belong in this league. I mean, he looks the part, he sounds the part, he acts the part. I mean, he's a guy that I think you can put in that spot and he'll be a reliable, good player for a very long time. I think he's what they hoped and what they thought. And there will certainly be growing pains for any rookie left tackle in this league. We're going to see that, but to think that, that they've certainly gotten a lot better at that spot. I think that was a good pick. Sweat, you don't know so much just because, there's always that question, how can he stay out there? How long can he stay out there? Is he going to be able to make the impact they're going to need him to make? Quite frankly, because there's an area of this team I'm concerned about from what I've seen so far. It's certainly on the defensive side of the ball. They don't look as stout up front in terms of stopping the run. I think there are real questions in the middle of the defense, inside linebacker. And, this is a defense that has done a good job against the run for a lot of the last few years. If you take that away, you got some questions at pass rush, and you got a secondary where the corners aren't even practicing. other than that, it's okay.
So how do you view the decisions coming up for Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan, just in terms of wide receiver? Like, how many receivers are you going to keep? It feels like Kinsey, Kyle Phillips, who's got a hamstring injury he's dealing with now, Kyrus Jackson, like all these guys, Jaquan Jackson, play the same position. Like they're in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you view how that complicates things? And I guess, on the tight end front, are they keeping 3? Are they keeping 4? What about just the roster decisions coming up for Rand Carthon and for Brian Callahan?
Receiver, I guess the number 6 sounds about right in terms of active roster. I think Callahan may have dropped that number at some point. Seems like I've heard that. So I think that's kind of what you're looking at. And it's a spot where 5 pretty at this point pretty well who that's going to be. So you're really talking about all those slot receiver types kind of competing for that last spot. And it really hurts Kyle Phillips that he got banged up. The days that I was out there last week, he was looking pretty good for a couple of days. He was also starting to get some more reps. Tyler Boyd was out, and Phillips seemed to be that kind of next guy in there for at least what I was watching. And then he gets hurt, leaves the field, and he's got a hamstring, going to miss a couple preseason games. Probably that's going to be pretty costly for him, I think, in this, because I think it's pretty close competition. When you see this sort of thing, I think that the real hint here is to look at who's returning kicks. And that if Kyle Phillips, if this is it for him with the Titans, we're going to look back at the fact that he was supposed to be the big punt returner. He had a great return in his very first game, and then he just stopped being able to catch punts. And the previous regime just couldn't feel comfortable putting him back there. And now you look, and you got the rookie Jackson, and you got Kyrus Jackson. Both have been returning kicks this preseason. So that tells me they're more in the plans than Kyle Phillips is.
Yeah. Of course, they were comfortable putting him back there when they should have had no returner back there. Not to take shots at Ackerman after he's gone, but that was a bad Ackerman moment. Yes. Yeah. Did you notice Gentry PK yelling? He's going to yell Ackerman every time they make a special teams mistake now for the rest of the time. So I don't know if you enjoyed that in the press box the other night, but PK more positive contributions to the discussion. Sticking at receiver, Traylon Burks. Speaking of hints, and I know Callahan explained it, different position, all that stuff in NWI. But I put a little stock in Burks not playing, and with the idea that he is important, and they look at him as a guy who, well, obviously if Hopkins is there, but even if he's not hurt, like a guy who is going to have some kind of a role. Am I over analyzing that?
No, I agree with that. Look, Traylon Burks has not been a dude for this team, but he still could be. We see it on the practice field. I mean, just last week with the joint practice with Seattle, to me, at least on Thursday, the best player on the field was the DB for the Seahawks, Witherspoon, who was all over the place. And the one player on the Titans that was able to have some success against him in coverage was Traylon Burks. And he got asked about that afterwards and said, well, I'm just as good as he is. And there's a lot of value in that league when you have a player who can say something like that and truly believe it. Because if he believes it, the other team is going to believe it too. And in terms of matchups, Traylon Burks is still somebody that the other teams are going to have to worry about because of everything he's able to do on the field. He's just got to go do it. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to be the player they're expecting him to be. But I think the idea that he wouldn't have a future in an offense that's going to throw it as much as they're going to try to throw it this year, it just never made much sense. You want a player like that.
So, Gentry, are they keeping 3 quarterbacks? Is Malik going to get cut? How do you view how that race is going right now for the Titans?
Yeah, that's one of the bigger surprises to me, Robbie, that's, leaving and then coming back, you're kind of just picking up the book after the first few chapters. That's probably the biggest surprise to me, that I've been asked a lot about that here, because I would not have expected that. I think going into this preseason, I think it was pretty obvious Rudolph was going to be, it didn't come here to be anything but the number 2. And I don't think many people really gave that, the talk of a competition there really, very much credence. But I think Willis has played pretty well. I mean, from what I saw last week, the fact that I think he probably got the better of him in a couple of practices, at least that I've seen. But again, it's maybe you do keep 3, but it's just so hard to not see Rudolph being the number 2. I think that was the plan all along. And I think from everything we've seen of, Brian Kelly, and there will be some curveballs when it comes to the 53. There always are. But a lot of what I've noticed in the pecking order and just kind of what they're talking about, they've kind of stuck with the plan in most cases. There really hasn't been a lot of dramatic movement. And I think the kicker is a good example the other night. In the emotion of the moment, it would have been real easy to say, yeah, this kid's really pushing Nick Folk. And he didn't say that. He said, it's Nick Folk's job. And I think there's a lot of spots on this team where we can make a lot of, assumptions and talk about things, but I think it's going to settle back where it was supposed to originally, if that makes sense.
Well, Gentry, welcome back. I've heard comparisons between, the volleyball venue with the Eiffel Tower in the background and St. Thomas Sports Park with the pond over there. Very similar. So welcome back. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. We'll talk to you soon.
The Sen is dirtier, at least.
Maybe so.
All right, you bet. Take care, guys.
Gentry Estes from the Tennessee.
Speaking of dirty water.
Speaking of dirty water.
That's the theme this
Love
week.
that flowing around. We'll take your thoughts, 615-737-1025 on the Titans. Some people panicking that we didn't talk about the Titans for 30 minutes.
Oh, so sorry.
We'll get back into that coming up next. Make sure you tune in to 94.9 The Fan today as the Sounds take on Jacksonville. Pregame at 6:20, first pitch at 6:35. Coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at 949thefan.com. Sounds baseball presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, 5 Points Roofing, Caudle Vet Clinic, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode. Some Dirty Laundry by Nickelback bringing us back in. What we think, Rexrode?
See, I love the song. I love the Don Henley version. I love that song.
It's kind of a banger. I know.
Look, it's better than any song Nickelback wrote, so I guess we'll give them credit for.
It's kind of a banger.
Yeah,
sounds good. I like the hardcore version of Dirty Laundry.
It's like the Smooth Criminal. Whoever remade that of Michael Jackson, Smooth Criminal.
Yeah.
I think it was Smooth, right? Wasn't that?
Yeah.
There one that's like. Yeah. All right, that's not bad.
See, I said liking it for you would be a stretch, but tolerating it, you may be able to do it.
I love the song, so at least I know that Nickelback can pick a song to cover.
Yeah,
that doesn't suck.
Yeah, there you go.
Congrats.
We've learned that today on the program.
Yay, Nickelback. People got really mad at me, by the way, for including live, and some people at Bush too. I could throw Nickelback in as part of the one-word triumvirate of suck.
Eric says that was horrible. Please don't ever play it again. I thought it was pretty good.
Thank you, Gover. Alien Ant Farm. There you go. Smooth Criminal. I kind of like that. That changed the song. See, I think if you're gonna do a remake of a song, like don't do like I love Weezer, right?
Yeah.
But they did Africa, which is a great song by Toto.
Yeah.
But they basically just did the exact same song.
You probably need to leave that one alone.
Right. Like Toto Africa is already a perfect song. So Weezer covered it and it doesn't even sound different. Like it sounds good if like I saw Weezer live at Ascend and they played it and it was awesome. But it's like you just played the exact same song.
Yeah.
If you're gonna remake a song, make it your own. And I guess this
Nickelback did.
They did. The problem is Nickelback making something their own makes something suck, but it's fine.
Tune in to Jason Big Joe show from 9 to 11 for your chance to win tickets to see Sammy Hagar at Bridgestone Arena on August 28th. Contest presented by Green Trees. Appreciate Gentry Estes for being with us in the last segment. We are taking your thoughts on the Titans on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Apparently, Carrie Underwood does a Dirty Laundry performance as well.
Okay. That same
Hers
exact song?
Probably better than Nickelback.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear it. I'd like to hear it.
Apparently, it's a very coverable song.
Yeah.
People love some Don Henley.
Damn good song.
It is a good song.
Early 80s.
Very, very good stuff.
Awesome video. MTV.
Yes.
Look it up.
What about you? I'll ask you the same question I asked Gentry. Has the offense, in your mind, made the progress that you expected through training camp? Are they ahead of schedule, behind schedule? How do you kind of view how the offense has come along to this point?
I wish I had a good answer for that. Are they ahead of schedule? It's a new offense going in. The quarterback, to me, appears to have done all the homework and appears to be in pretty good command. I don't see a lot of play. I haven't seen a lot of plays where it seems like Levis, isn't on top of like what they're supposed to be doing or what he's looking at. It's just a matter of, can you execute? Obviously, the Levis Ridley thing is something we've talked about ad nauseum, but that would be part of it.
Yep.
It's unfortunate that Hopkins has not been able to work in this offense, even though Levis and Hopkins have chemistry. It's still them in a new system, and now Boyd has been missing too. So I think it's right in the range, and especially look, I think that the offensive line is starting to look like a National Football League offensive line. Not a great one, not necessarily a good one. Well, but as we all know, you get to so and you have made a big leap if you're the Tennessee Titans up front. And I think that we actually have seen, I think Nicholas Petit-Frere, like you compare like early in camp, John Ojukwu was at right tackle. I mean, there's a big gap between those two.
Yeah.
So maybe it's more of an indictment of Ojukwu than it is a endorsement of Petit-Frere, but there's a big gap. And again, like Gentry said, Latham is going to be good. He's going to be a good player. I think Skoronski is too.
Well, I have good news for Titans fans and for you.
Okay.
If the Titans want to add depth to their offensive line.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
And they want specifically to add some depth to somebody who has starting left tackle experience in the league. Dennis Daly was released by the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. So he is out there and available. Dennis Daly.
The only thing
only
better
28
would
years
be
old.
if it were Andre Dillard. Then you'd be so excited, both because he's available, you can make a joke, and because the Packers no longer employ him. Dennis Daly. Okay, look. You want to take since you?
I do want to take. Yes,
Dennis Daly would be better than some of the tackles on this team.
Oh, boy,
I mean,
who?
Ojukwu?
Okay.
Jalen Duncan.
Asking the question.
I will say both of those guys. He's better than those guys.
Okay. Well, then,
in my
he's there.
humble,
Go get him.
In my humble opinion, okay, he's not a starting left tackle, as we know very well here.
Doesn't have to be on this team though.
Well, right. So
at the moment.
So even though you kind of have that little smile on your face because it's tongue in cheek on this, I don't think it's the craziest idea.
Well, you remember last year about this time because Andre Dillard was getting smoked by Arden Key this time last year, and we're like, well, don't worry, guys. He can't be worse than Dennis Daly. And it turns out he was.
We need to find the sound of that.
We really do. It's impossible for him to be worse than Dennis Daly was. Turns out it wasn't impossible.
Yeah, it was not.
It was not impossible.
Anything is possible.
I'm just saying that the option is there. If the Titans want to add a veteran offensive lineman, there's the ability now to do so. You don't get that chance you don't get the chance very often, Rexrode, at this point in the camp, to go out and find somebody on the street who has played starting left tackle minutes and is only 28 years old.
Is he only 28? Is that right?
Yeah.
So, in all seriousness, this can't be because the Cardinals are really stout up front, right? Like, is Dennis Daly getting worse?
Well, this is again like
I remember when they picked him up, I'm like, wow, that guy was here and he wants him on his team. Okay.
Well, again, like cut down day, it all happens at the same time now.
Right.
So like these days, anybody that gets released before cut down day, I'm like, why? What happened? I have not seen any details.
Like
on
it's just that bad.
Why he's been released? But I mean, they did put out a statement. Jonathan Gannon, head coach, said, "Quote: I appreciate all his hard work. He's a warrior. He's been fun to be around for the last year and a half." That was it.
Yeah, won the best personality contest. Jason in Dover says the Titans are definitely behind schedule. See, but the problem, Jason, here's the thing. Yeah, the Ridley stuff is there. They gotta get that together. But like, who's to say that they're not gonna have 6 for 120 and a touch in the first game? It's just this is the problem with the preseason. There's practice and they're working on things, and so you can always say, oh, that's good on the D or that's bad on the O, right? Or vice versa when everything happens. Then you do joint practices. Look, I think that the Seahawks, we talked about that. I think the Seahawks have a couple of the best corners that you're going to find in the league. They really do. And so that's a great look for them. They're not definitely behind schedule. I don't think that that's necessarily true. Like that question, we'll find out in Chicago, and I'm sure that like whatever they do in Chicago, you would hope. I mean, if you're, well-coached team and all that, like a month later it'll be better than that. A lot of these teams in this league, I mean, it's just like the practices are so different now. The lack of contact and all that stuff for offensive line play, it takes a while. It's really hard to answer the question.
Trevor says, I'm rooting for a Dennis Daly, Andre Dillard team up for your Packers, Robbie. Together, maybe they can form one competent player.
Oh, my goodness.
Why do you hate Jordan Love so much? What do you do to
Sneak those guys into the same huge, oversized
you got a trench coat out there?
Yeah.
God, that guy's huge. Who is that?
Wow, that's amazing punch with 4 arms.
615-737. Maybe they could get in front of somebody then at that point.
Maybe. Throw one of them.
You imagine
one
Art
throws the other?
Art Key had to go up against both of them at the same time. He'd have a lot of trouble. 615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts on the Titans coming up next, including a trivia question that I don't know the answer to from Joe Rexrode. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game. Robby and Rexrode. 1025, 1063 the game.
Nick Keyser comes through in the clutch. Don't drink the water, Dave Matthews Band. Absolutely fantastic. How could I not have thought? Thank you, Dane in Nolensville. How could I not have thought of this? Like, Katie would kill me. By the way, this is one of Katie's least favorite Dave songs. Sticking with the Dave theme, someone on the text line mentioned the Sledgehammer. You know the song Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel?
Yeah.
Dave Matthews Band cover that. And I was like, dude, who do you think you're talking to, bro? Oh, I've seen their Sledgehammer multiple times, and it's awesome.
Do you have like a tally going? I may have asked you this before, but like the amount of Dave Matthews Band shows you've been to? Like, I know Gover's been to like 50 of them.
Yeah, Katie's been to way more than me. Like, before we were an item, she was in college. Like, she's so she's way ahead of me. I think she might have her total, and I think it might be in that range, something like that.
That's a lot.
For me, probably, I don't have a tally, but I'm going to guess. I mean, you're talking like 20 plus years of it first being dragged and then being like, oh, now I'm a huge nerd of Dave Matthews because they're awesome. Probably, man, I mean, I might be in the high 30s.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I might be.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. Hey, man, don't miss a Dave show. I tell you all the time. I'll keep. I'm just gonna have to do a Dave Matthews Band, rant every quarter. Like, if you like music and incredible musicianship, you will be blown away every time.
I got some tickets to give away to see the Nashville Sounds Home Run Derby X at First Horizon Park coming up on Saturday, August 31st. The participants include Manny Ramirez, Andrew Jones, Nick Swisher, Pedro Alvarez, among many others. Be caller number 5, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Caller 5 will win a pair of tickets to see the Nashville Sounds Home Run Derby X coming up at First Horizon Park on Saturday, August the 31st. Chase said, you've seen Dave Matthews Sledgehammer? How about that?
Easy. Aren't you supposed to be management? Like, classing this joint up? Don't bring our show into the gutter. We're over here trying to play songs about poopy water all day. Someone's asking for us to play my rap song to Katie. No, that is off limits now on the program. Okay.
By the way, Gover says it's not 50 Dave Matthews Band shows. It's 42 that he's seen.
Oh, God. So I don't think he's that much ahead of me. I should have kept track, but like the first, I don't know. I just never did. Katie knows her number. It's pretty ridiculous. We're actually waiting to find out when the fall tour comes out. We might go try to see him in Columbus, Ohio. Just saying. Oh, and Katie will be seeing him at Franklin. Unfortunately, it's a football Saturday.
Yeah.
No, Franklin, the festival in the fall.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Gosh darn it. I know someone on the text line will bail me out. They do it every fall in Franklin.
I'm sure they do.
God dang it.
There's too many festivals around here, man. I can't keep up with all of them.
There are. I know.
There's a lot of festivals around here. You have a trivia question that I don't know the answer to regarding Pro Football Focus.
Pilgrimage.
There you go. Pilgrimage
Festival. Dave will be there this year. Very exciting. Okay. The Titans defensive players against the Seahawks, the second highest PFF grade. Can you figure that out?
Trey Avery.
Dude, how did you do that?
Is that really it?
Yes.
No, I did not know. That's a total guess.
Yes.
I mean, he played the whole game, so I figured he'd be up there somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's true. I guess it's like quantity over quality kind of thing.
I guess so. Our guy Trey Avery making a push?
Is that again, look, man, I didn't grade every one of his snaps. So the thing is about corner is that you can, if you really are graded closely, then it's possible that in that game he had so many snaps that the ball didn't come his way. That's great snaps. But we did see some pretty bad ones from him. We've seen some pretty bad snaps from Trey Avery the whole preseason. I'm sorry, John Glennon.
They can't all be great.
To me, he's fallen down the depth chart. That's part of why we saw him so much on the field in that game. But like that, to me, is a pretty good example of why I laugh at PFF.
Who's number one?
It might have been Jalen Harrell. Which, okay. I mean, that makes sense.
Kind of adds up.
Yeah, I think it was Jalen Harrell.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. But I just saw Trey Avery number 2, and I'm like, okay, this has to be a topic. We could take it ripping PFF. We could take it talking about the
right. Did you see Trey Avery this week?
By the way, he's been gone. We miss Johnny. We miss Johnny G.
John.
Johnny G takes his vacation right during the middle of football camp. It's actually kind of brilliant.
It's a veteran move.
Yeah, like Kaharski's complaining about that. I'm like, well, we're the suckers who are here, watching them practice again.
3 weeks till they play game.
So good for you, Johnny G.
Well, good for Trey Avery getting a high PFF score.
When you come back, Johnny G, your guy may not be here. Yeah. It's just the PFF instant game grades it's some of the dumbest stuff. They do some good things. It's a worthwhile service for some of the things that they track for sure. The instant grades off games, astoundingly bad at times.
I didn't know they did that for preseason games. I guess I should have known better.
Sure.
But I was not aware that they put that much effort in for the preseason games. Good to know.
Hey man, that's their they got to get ready for the season too. So
that's true. So is Gabe Judy Lally clearly ahead of Avery? And
I think so.
You at this point?
I think so. And it's like
has he made the team?
Judy Lally? So. Okay. Yeah, I think so. And this is where it does get into do I have the full breakdown of who Gabe Judy Lally was repping against as opposed to Trey Avery? Because certainly Trey Avery was ahead of him. And that's where sometimes it's like, wow, he's making a lot of plays. Yeah, well, how much of that was with the threes against the threes, you know? So that's where camp can be deceiving unless you really want to get granular and compare two guys like that and split the hairs. But I think that from the wider view of just watching them in general, I think Gabe Judy Lally has been the better player than Trey Avery. Yes, I think he's making the team. I still would guess Avery makes it. I mean, how many corners?
That would be 6.
He would be the 6. Considering I think some of these positions, you have to think about it in terms of how injury prone are the guys at the top of the depth chart. And the Titans, we know one guy who just isn't in camp basically, and he played all last season, but obviously that's a thing. And then Awuzi's had the calf the whole camp.
Awuzie, though, has been, in terms of just the games played, I think has been relatively durable throughout his career.
He's had up and down. If you look at it, he's had a couple seasons where he missed pretty big chunks of time. Recently, I think it's been better.
I'm looking at it. He has had some seasons where he's missed some time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe disregard everything I just said. He did play 15 games last year. And only 8 games the year before that. And only 8 games in 2020.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Trey, if you get ready to play. Need you out there, son.
We're discovering things, in real time. Yeah.
Who was I thinking of that doesn't miss games?
Roger McCreary doesn't at this point.
Yeah.
So, that's one guy who you hope will be durable. But yeah, I think that makes sense. The 6 corners, and I think it would be.
I mean, Snead doesn't miss a whole lot of games.
Well, that's the thing. Snead is just not a factor. I mean, do they, like this week or next week, do they start to weave him into practice a little bit? I don't know. I guess I get why you wouldn't. I thought maybe we'd see one day against Seattle, sort of.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen it.
Right, it would have been fun. It would have been a lot of fun to see him against those. But I guess I can also see, you know what? That's high leverage, high intensity work for a guy that you're trying to get to the starting line.
Yeah.
So, as far as I know, he'll play every game this year. But Awuzie is no sure bet based on his history.
615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts on the Titans coming up next. Something to get to on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Be a hero and save a life tomorrow at the 11th annual Williamson County Battle of the Badges blood drive. Every 2 seconds, someone is in need of blood. And in the last 11 years, this drive alone has collected over 3,000 units of blood, saving up to 9,000 lives. The drive will be held at John P. Holt Brentwood Library tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So lots of opportunity for you to get out there. 102.5 The Game will be on hand from noon to 2 with swag to give away and a chance to win free concert tickets as well. So make sure you check that out. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. This week's Nashville's best deal, Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall. Place full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzels, and more in an Oktoberfest-inspired space. Head to thegamenashville.com/deals for a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last.
Personal text line blowing up. First of all, Caroline, my beloved Caroline, who I wished happy birthday to yesterday, says
Rexrode. Caroline Rexrode.
Yes, thank you. Pilgrimage dummy. That's what she texted me. Katie texted me pilgrimage too, and she says her number. This is Katie's number. Okay. I don't believe this. She says 84.
84 Dave Matthews Band shows?
We went to 5 last summer. So if you did that, every summer, you'd be in triple digits, but 84?
That's a lot.
Dude. You
got some work to do. You're not going to catch her.
Well, I'm not going to go. Yeah, well, I'm not going
without her.
I'll take
Katie. You stay at the house.
Take Caroline.
Yeah. Rexrode.
Yeah. Gover says number 43 will be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. I'm so jealous of you, Gover. We talked about trying to do that. They're getting inducted way too late in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but that's awesome, Gover. I'm excited for you.
615-737-1025, our phone number.
And now we got a lot of sledgehammer jokes on the text line.
A lot of that going on.
Personal and otherwise.
Right now, 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We talked about this earlier, the Austin mock projection for the Titans. They ran their models at theathletic.com. Titans at 6.8 wins, according to the model, the third fewest in the AFC. So another example of what we talked about all offseason to this point, the expectations for the Titans not going to be super high heading into this season. It was interesting that, Gentry seemed still based on, even all the hype from Sweat in camp. We know what Jeffrey Simmons brings to the table, but Gentry still seemed to be pretty concerned with the defense's ability to stop the run and up the middle at inside linebacker as well. Are you worried about this team's ability to stop the run?
Yeah, that's a good point and a good question. And all my answers today are like, I don't know.
This is why we need football.
Yeah, I'd like to see him play actual football in a game. Obviously, the Sweat addition gives you occupying a lot of space, and with Simmons and Sweat, you hope if you're the Titans that's dynamic and that pushes the pocket on passing downs, but also you hope that it's effective in stopping the run. Like, to me, Jack Gibbons, if Jack Gibbons is going to be one of your starting inside linebackers, that's where he better be really freaking good. We know that Jack Gibbons has limitations in space and I think in coverage, but that's where you hope that his instincts and his physicality would be an asset there. So I don't know. They have been so good for the most part against the run, but it's a totally different defense, and there's a lot of changes in personnel. The rule is always, it always works. Running the football, you have to do it to some extent. And I do think the Titans, some of their quote-unquote running game will be some of the short passing to the backs. That'll be an extension of the running game. But also, you cannot get run on. If you get run on in this league, then you're just going to get torn up all over the place.
Well, we've gone through the Titans schedule, and we've looked at the quarterbacks that they're playing. Just listen to the first 5 weeks of the season, the running backs that they're going up against. DeAndre Swift. New York's got Breece Hall. Packers have Josh Jacobs. Miami's got Mostert, and they drafted Jalen Wright, and they've got Achane. We need to find out what his actual name is down there.
Achane.
They were
going
awesome
Achane
last year running the ball.
Yes.
Indy's got Jonathan Taylor. Here's your first 5 games right there. That's pretty good backs that you're going to see early on in the season. So the answer to this question early on, in addition to, the Jets have Rodgers, Bears have Caleb Williams. You're going up against Jordan Love and Tua. What is Anthony Richardson going to be? Obviously, quarterback's most important. Pretty darn good backs they're going up in the first 5 weeks of the season as well, that you're going to have to, you can't just get gashed for 130 yards in those games and think that you're going to stop those offenses. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to stop the run.
Absolutely. It's absolutely essential. And that has been sort of central to overall pretty good defense for a long period of time, really, other than the 2020 season when they had their best offense ever, arguably. But other than that, and that year they kind of struggled against the run too. Just a weird year. They just were just so ineffective up front. But gotta be able to stop the run. And this league still has a lot of good running backs. They don't get paid a lot and all that stuff, but like most teams on the schedule have at least one good back.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, we saw it last year when Zach Moss ate them alive and looked like Le'Veon Bell out there. Like you gotta find a way to stop the run if you're the Titans. Otherwise, it just gets you behind the 8-ball defensively. So I guess Gentry brought that up, and that is something that I guess I haven't spent a whole lot of time really thinking about with the Titans on the defensive side of the ball this year. Is like, how equipped are they to stop the run? And you know, the guys, I think it's pretty clear. And you know, they just lost Marlon Davidson the other day too. But like the guys behind Simmons and Sweat up the middle on the defensive line, like how big of a drop off is, like, it's pretty essential that those two guys stay healthy, Simmons and Sweat, this year.
Right.
Because there's a huge drop off after that.
Because if they occupy the attention they should, then you've got free guys to make plays. Like, put it very simplistically, right? So yeah, you hope that those two guys are dominant to the point that they affect both things, you know, passing and running game. Tommy's asking about Campbell starting at linebacker. Look, I'd like to see him get some reps with the ones and get a look. I don't want to overstate, like Koharski accuses me of overstating how good he is, but the guy makes plays. The guy is an instinctive athletic football player. His athletic numbers are off the charts, or they're awfully high on the chart, and he's instinctive. And right now he's healthy, and that's been his problem. Sure. I'd like to see him get a look, and maybe it's just, he'll be one of those guys who, yeah, against the twos, it all looked great. And now you put him in on Sunday, it's not there, but I'd like to see a shot. I'd like to see him get a shot at
it. Jonathan says, if the Titans win week 1, how fast does the trend fall on Caleb Williams, since everybody thinks the Titans are going to be terrible? This is from Jonathan on the text line. Is Caleb Williams a bust if he loses to the Titans in week 1?
Well, there will be overreactions either way.
Yes.
If you play as well and they win, then it's the start of a glorious chapter in NFL history. And
yes.
and there will be people freaking out if they lose. So, but that's true. Like, we are looking at this like, wow, that's an interesting game. And, you know, the Titans are going to throw all this stuff at him and it should be good. A lot of the league is like, oh, wow, Caleb Williams gets kind of a gimme for this first game. So there you go. You're going to get that win to start and get going. So if the Titans do go in there and win that game, that is a little bit of a punch in the mouth to a lot of the talk around the league.
The line for Titans-Bears still at 4.5. Hasn't moved. Maybe it won't.
It's interesting.
I'm sticking by my prediction that by the time game time rolls around, the Bears will be a touchdown favorite.
Yeah, the Bears fans are going to. Yeah, once it gets closer, they're going to go overboard. Yeah. Thank you. Someone saying I need to clarify. Garrett from Clarksville, make sure you clarify. It's Dave Matthews concert. Sounds pretty bad saying your wife's number is 84. My goodness. 84 Dave Matthews Band concerts.
Band concerts.
And Dennis, I really don't appreciate your gyrating Dave Matthews gif like it's some bad thing. He's a pretty good dancer up there, man.
Is he?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, for like a 50-ish-year-old dude, you know, he's all right.
Okay. All right.
Wait, Jared told the right tackle story again yesterday? Good God. He needs to go ahead and write a children's book entitled "We Don't Have a Right Tackle," where his character is
he's down on PT. Now he's got me calling him PT, though. That's the problem.
Don't do that. It's NPF. Yeah, the PT thing makes no sense. Was that like Chris Sanders just
AKA PT?
That was like Chris Sanders had the initials wrong in his name or something?
I don't know.
And so we're still calling him PT?
I don't know. Maybe tell that story instead of the right tackle story.
Tell it. Yeah, please don't tell that story anymore.
615-737-1025. We'll have you covered all day long here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Jason Big Joe is up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.